Well, welcome back to yet another interesting roller coaster video on the channel. And now I can happily say that the 2025 season for theme parks and amusement parks are beginning to slowly start. And now all the way over in the UK at Blackpool Pleasure Beach they have already opened for the 2025 season. And then I thought it would be a great idea if I ranked all the roller coasters. So now that's what I'm gonna do in this video. And Blackpool Pleasure Beach has a total of 10 roller coasters to go through. And now quickly before starting this video, if you really like roller coaster videos like these, please consider subscribing to my channel. And now let's start the Blackpool Pleasure Beach countdown. And now coming in at spot number 10 we got Steeplechase made by Aerodynamics. And well, this may be one of the weirdest standing but still operating roller coasters I've seen. And Steeplechase actually consists of 3 different roller coaster tracks going by each other. We got a yellow one, a green one and also a red one, but they are all just horrible to ride. And well, this family so-called roller coaster attraction is very weird. We have 2 lift hills and a lengthy roller coaster layout, but the seating position is just horrible and unpleasant. And yes, the roller coaster trains on this coaster are of course horses. The only positive thing I can say about Steeplechase is that it's pretty unique and it's a classic old roller coaster from 1977. And the funniest thing I've done yet is looking at reviews of this roller coaster on Captain Coaster. And this is where someone said the following: "I know it's old, but it tried to excavate me with every turn despite how slow and tame it is." And well, they are exactly right. The roller coaster is slow, it doesn't really do anything, and the seating position is just very uncomfy. And now coming in at spot number 9 we got Blue Fire, created by Charles Page. And Blue Fire is a very small wooden roller coaster that is very old. On top of that, this coaster dates all the way back to 1934. And we don't really know how tall this roller coaster is. I've looked on Captain Coaster and also RCDB. This small wooden roller coaster still has these PTC trains that seats 20 riders total. This small wooden roller coaster is quite simple. The length is 2099 feet, and on top of that you just have airtime hills and a few turns. And surprise, you might not think that this small wooden roller coaster gives airtime, but it actually does. But unfortunately I have a few negatives to say about this roller coaster. And first of all, it's very short, and second of all, I can't really fit on these. And yeah, I know this roller coaster isn't really supposed to be for adults, but of course I'm still gonna try this roller coaster only for the credit. Enough said about Blue Fire, let's move on. Now coming in at spot number 8 we got Infusion made by Vekoma. And well, I mainly try to stay positive when I'm doing this roller coaster countdown in the different parks, but now we got a Vekoma SLC coaster. And many of us roller coaster enthusiasts know that these rides are quite thrilling but very unpleasant to ride and quite shaky. But sometimes I also think people are being too harsh on the SLC coaster, but I still want to ride Infusion over the other 2 on the list. And to be honest, the scenery around this Vekoma SLC is awesome. You have the water beneath the roller coaster and then the roller coasters behind. But unfortunately Infusion might be one of the lower tier SLCs out there, because this one still features the original Vekoma train. And that means we have these big and bulky over the shoulder restraints, and we know these SLC coasters are quite rattly and quite shaky, so that leads to a lot of headbanging, especially this one. And the only positive thing I can say about this roller coaster is that it still delivers some strong positive G-forces and some crazy whip, especially in the back row. The only reason I ride these SLC roller coasters is of course I can talk about them, and then on top of that trying to survive the challenge. Now coming in at spot number 7 we got Big Dipper, created by William Strickler. Well, the first thing I need to say is that the designer behind this wooden roller coaster is the famous John A. Miller, and then we got the builder William Strickler. And well, this old wooden roller coaster is of course the oldest at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. This one dates all the way back to 1923. And this old wooden roller coaster has in the recent years gotten a repaint, so it looks a bit better in my opinion. And now let's talk about the whole roller coaster layout. It has a height of 60 feet and on top of that a very lengthy layout with 3,300 feet total. This old and classic Woody really offers a very lengthy layout that mixes in some laterals and many camelback hills. And when you ride a roller coaster that's over 100 years old, you can't really expect much, and this roller coaster doesn't really offer that much in my opinion. The thing I like the most about this roller coaster is actually going through the whole park, because you can see everything and every roller coaster from different angles. And yes, this 100 years old roller coaster is a bit shaky, but it isn't unpleasant in my opinion. Now coming in at spot number 6 we got Nickelodeon Streak, created by Charles Page yet again. And now we're starting to move up into the more enjoyable roller coasters at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and these are the ones I might consider re-riding yet again. And Nickelodeon Streak is yet another old wooden roller coaster that dates all the way back to 1933. This coaster has approximately the same size as Big Dipper with 61 feet tall, but a shorter length with 2,293 feet. Nickelodeon Streak mainly consists of an out and back wooden roller coaster layered with many airtime hills. And this orange looking wooden coaster reaches a maximum speed of 35 miles per hour. And while sometimes this roller coaster doesn't really do much for me, and other times this coaster hits many airtime spots. This coaster really features a lot of airtime hills, and when they hit, they are just awesome. And yet again, this old wooden coaster is very bumpy, but these trains are filled with pillows, so it's just nice hopping around in these seats. And I really like the train design on this old woody. Now coming in the middle at spot number 5, we got Avalanche made by Mack Rides. And now surprisingly, we've moved away from many of the old wooden roller coasters at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, but now we got the Mack Rides bobsled coaster model. And this old bobsled coaster by Mack Rides opened all the way back in 1988. Avalanche has a height of 66 feet, a length of 1490 feet, and a maximum speed of 31 miles per hour, so it isn't really the biggest Mack Rides bobsled coaster in the world. This roller coaster mainly consists of many downwards twists and turns until the end of the ride experience, but unfortunately it feels a bit short. And yeah, Avalanche is still a decent ride experience, but there are really better Mack Rides bobsled coasters out there. The ride is overall just good fun with decent pacing, and you also have a nicely themed station. So I would recommend giving this 80s coaster a ride or two. And now let's move on to the next roller coaster. Now coming in at spot number 4, we got Grand National created by Charles Page yet again. And wow, surprise, we have yet another old wooden roller coaster in this park. And with no doubt, I think Grand National is the best wooden coaster right here. And Grand National is overall a dueling wooden roller coaster that dates all the way back to 1935. And Grand National stands as the tallest wooden coaster in this park, but just with 1 feet. The maximum height on this coaster is 62 feet. We have a lengthy ride experience with 3,300 feet and a maximum speed of 40 miles per hour. And Grand National just has the superior wooden coaster layout for me. Many of these airtime hills are strong and quick. And yes, the dueling aspect of the ride only adds to the ride experience. Grand National still offers these old PTC wooden coaster trains, and they are just awesome because there's a lot of space for airtime. And this might not be the smoothest wooden coaster in the park because Grand National still offers a lot of rattle and discomfort. But if you know how to survive an old wooden roller coaster, this one is no problem. And this rattle only adds to the intensity of the ride experience for me. Now coming in at spot number 3, we got Revolution made by Aerodynamics. And well, I really love this roller coaster, even though it's very short and very simple. And well, Revolution overall is a very rare steel shuttle loop coaster created by Aerodynamics, of course. And this coaster design was really a revolution at the time, but now it's quite outdated. And Revolution features a so-called electric winch launch that takes the roller coaster train down a sharp drop and then into a vertical loop, and then you repeat the same layout backwards again. And well, this old shuttle loop coaster from 1979 really offers a short but great layout. And while the launches aren't really the best, they just feel like a strong push, but the airtime going down these drops are awesome, and the vertical loop is filled with strong positive g-forces. And well, if you sit in the back row of this roller coaster, it can really offer strong ejector airtime going down these drops. And it's just awesome to see that Blackpool Pleasure Beach still keeps this roller coaster alive, because this coaster model is very rare. And to be honest, I really consider giving this old shuttle loop coaster the second place in this park. Now coming in at spot number 2, we got the big one made by Aerodynamics. And well, it turns out that Blackpool Pleasure Beach still has a lot of Aerodynamics products operating. And well, since the opening back in 1994, we all know the big one has just been what we know Blackpool Pleasure Beach for. And yeah, the big one is a very rare hyper roller coaster model made by Aerodynamics. And before the opening of Hypera at Thorpe Park last year, the big one was actually the tallest coaster in the UK, coming in at 213 feet tall. This coaster reaches a maximum speed of 74 miles per hour, and it has a very lengthy roller coaster track coming in at 5,497 feet. And now I hate to be very negative, but the big one might be one of the weaker hyper coasters out there. The best and most intense moment for me on this roller coaster is the twisted first drop. That one is just awesome. But in my opinion, I don't think the big one does that much with the roller coaster layout. And while this roller coaster layout mainly stays highly elevated over the park, where you have very long and drawn out turns combined with very long and drawn out airtime hills. And well, if I also need to talk about some other decent elements on this ride, we have the tunnels, that's also nice, and we have a helix, and that's pretty much it. And this is where I could have placed Revolution at spot number 2. But now coming in at spot number 1, we got Icon made by Mack Rides. spots, and I would have never thought that they could fit in this multi-launch roller coaster, but they could. And Icon is of course the newest coaster in this park. Icon has been operating since 2018, and this is by far the best coaster in Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Based on the stats, this roller coaster doesn't really seem that great. Well, Icon only stands 88.5 feet tall and reaches a maximum speed of 52.8 miles per hour. Even though the launches on this coaster really aren't that impressive, Icon still features some awesome roller coaster elements such as airtime hills, a junior Immelman, and many twists and turns. And yeah, I really like that inline twist moment on this ride. And the most impressive thing about this roller coaster for me is how they could fit all that roller coaster track in this small ride area. And well, unfortunately I haven't really ridden the spinning back cart on this roller coaster called Enzo, and I've heard this spinning coaster experience really adds to the ride. And now we've finally gone through all roller coasters at the so-called Pleasure Beach Resort. Now please let me know in the comments what you think of my video. I really want to get your feedback. And now if you really like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. That would be awesome. And now at the end of the day, I'm always gonna say bye bye.